Welcome to Shoot for Succession. I'm Rob, a photographer, business owner, and educator who spent the past decade building a solo photography business from the ground up. This podcast isn't about camera gear or chasing trends. It's about what comes after you learn how to take great pictures. Talking about systems, structure, delegation, and building a business that can actually last. Shoot for Succession is about turning passion into something sustainable, repeatable, and valuable, so your business can grow beyond you and eventually stand on its own. Built with passion, sustained by systems. I'm glad you're here. Let's get into it. Whew. All right. Let me figure this out. All right. Hey, everybody. This is Rob, and today I want to welcome you to the first episode. All right, episode 1 of Shoot for Succession. This is not something that I would say I'm good at. All right, I am a photographer. I'm an educator. I've been teaching for 23 years now. Been shooting for about 20 years and had a photography business for about 10 years. Learned a lot, have figured out a whole lot, have figured out that I do a lot of things wrong. For me, it was really interesting. I never wanted to start a business, right? I never wanted to be in business. I've never been in the private sector, right? I went to school, went to college, became a teacher. So I've been in that public sector my entire life, and I figured out, how to run a business. Tapped into a lot of friends and colleagues that run small businesses or in the private sector there. But for a guy that's always been in the public sector, it hasn't been easy. And so this podcast has been a long time coming. I've had ideas and other ideas and other ideas, and just nothing that really gave me that inspiration to, make multiple episodes and really take it off. Because I did, there were already a ton of photography podcasts out there, business podcasts, things like that. And it actually, started with a buddy of mine, James. We have been working together for the last couple of years, building his brand, building my brand. He's in the auto repair industry. I am not. I know nothing about vehicles. And so he's actually his shop is where I've been taking my vehicles for God knows how long. When you find somebody that you trust and that you can rely on, you don't really search for anything else. And that's always kind of resonated with me. The big thing, that I learned, from James was the difference between owning a business and owning a job. And that sounds simple, it sounds redundant, but it's not. You might have heard of this, right? Owning a business versus owning a job, two very different things. Yes, you could, both situations, you run a business, you own a business, but does that business survive if you're not there? Does your business make money if you're not out there working, if you're not out there taking the photos, if you're not repairing the vehicles, if you're not out there doing the marketing, right? Does anything happen? Does money get made? Do bills get paid? And in my case, I own a job. As much as I like to think that I run a business, I run a job. Nothing happens if I don't do anything. No money's made. No bills are paid. Clients don't get their photos. They don't get their orders unless I make it happen. So this kind of it's been resonating with me for a long time, and I've talked to James about this for a long time. And the idea of how do you take a creative business, right? How do you take a business like photography, videography, something that typically was started without ever having the intent of being a business. I don't know. I can't name one person that runs a photography business or some sort of creative business that became a business first and then a creative second. It's always the other way around. Creative first, and then you kind of end up in a business. So, and it's, how many business classes, did you take in high school or college, and did it apply to you? And do you remember any of that? For me, I took none. I had no business experience. I worked, summers, pumping gas, doing construction, things like that. But I never had to be in charge of a business, never had to manage books, manage other people, anything like that. And so, this podcast, this idea kind of came from the idea of what happens when I don't want to shoot anymore. And when I, not even that I don't want to shoot anymore, but that I can't, or that I don't have the time, or that I want to take a vacation, or anything like that. How does something like this continue without me? Well, I don't know. And that's something that I've been talking with James about a lot. How do you take a creative process? How do you take a business built on creativity, built on craft, built on skill, and eventually sell it and have somebody take it over and give you money for it? So with that being said, that's really the intent of this podcast. It's really going to be my journey. 2026 is the year that I am really, putting my nose to the grind, not necessarily become a better photographer, not to become a better business owner, but to become a business versus a job. And it's not going to be easy, and I'm going to make plenty of mistakes, and I'm going to talk about all the things that I'm going to try and then how they worked out, and what failed, what didn't fail, what I learned, what successes appeared to be successes at first and then realized that, they weren't. So come along for the ride, because it's going to be interesting. If you're thinking about running a business, or if you have a business that's really a job, this is where you're going to want to be listening, because I'm raw, right? It's what you see is what you get with me. I don't sugarcoat. I don't embellish. I tell it like it is, and I've got no humility. I'm 45 years old, 3 kids, 2 in college, a beautiful wife, beautiful family, and it's a lot of figuring stuff out. Yeah. And that's the thing too, right? Like, I don't want to wait until it's too late in order to start thinking about this. So this is my documentation, right? This is, hopefully maybe a Netflix documentary in 15, 20 years. I obviously, as a photographer, I value documentation. I value capturing moments, capturing things in real time. But this isn't about that. This is about, how do I make something that's transferable, right? Things that we don't think about, right? Common reasons that businesses are unsellable. They depend on the owner, right? The owner's not there, things don't happen. Systems. This is going to be my biggest struggle. creating documented systems. And you're going to come on that journey with me to see which systems I create, which systems work, which systems I think are going to work, which ones don't. And this is a big one because it's a lot of me handing stuff off, and the idea of, good Lord, like I, plan, the money that comes in, I have a place for it. Do I have a place, for money to go if I hand stuff off? So I got to figure that out. One thing that I feel like I do well is represent my brand, build client relationships. Is that something that I can hand off? Potentially. Is that something that's sellable? I don't know. I think that's the area though that I need to maintain the most, right? Is representing the brand, building those relationships with clients. And because at the end of the day, especially, as a creative, there's a lot of us out there. They say it's a saturated market of photographers and content creators and things like that. So what sets you apart, right? What makes somebody want to work with you? And I'll tell you what I'm not doing, and the answer isn't is drop my prices. Too far into this to not realize my value, not realize what I create, and not realize, that when people come to me and they work with me, they're getting a lot for their money. I'm not cheap. You're not. I'm not a discount photographer. I'm not any of those things. I'm expensive, but the time that you spend and the experience that you have, you're going to look back and you're going to say, "Holy crap, man, that was worth it. I would have paid 3 times that." So thinking about succession, shoot for succession. Obviously, the idea is to now focus on building this brand, building this business that can be replicable. It can be transferred. It can be taken over by somebody else and run the exact same way. So succession, it's not about selling tomorrow. I'm not looking to sell my business because right now my business has a net worth of 0. Right? I've got tons of equipment, high level equipment, but I'll get 10 cents on the dollar for that. It's about what can I build, what can I get put in place that somebody can pick up and carry on with. So, I'm creating options, I'm creating opportunities. Thinking like a buyer changes how you operate, right? Thinking about what people look for, what people want. So, as we go on, this podcast is going to be my thoughts, and it's not going to be clean. It's going to be messy. It's going to be all over the place. So, stick with it. See how it goes. All right. And if this is, resonating with you at all, stick around, subscribe. All right. And we'll talk soon. Episode 2 will have a little bit more, more to it. Thanks for listening to Shoot for Succession. If today's episode resonated with you, it's probably because you're thinking beyond the work. You're thinking about systems, ownership, and what it means to build something that lasts. If you found value here, well, make sure to follow the show, leave a review, or share it with another creative business owner who's ready to think like an owner, not just an operator. Because great businesses aren't built on talent alone. They're built to endure. If you like what you heard, check out my website, robfaberphotography.com. Check me out on Instagram at robfaberphotography, also FBR Media, and officially Faber. I'll see you on the next episode.